My name is Margaret Collins. I'm 59 years old, a widow, and for most of my life I believed my purpose was simple, to be a good mother. I raised 2 children, Emily and Luke, with everything I had. After my husband died suddenly when the kids were still teenagers, I took on 2 jobs, juggled bills, and sacrificed every dream I ever had, just so they wouldn't have to struggle the way I once did. For years, I told myself it was worth it. That one day they would understand. That one day they would look at me and say, "Thank you, Mom, we see you." But then came the email, no subject line. No warm greeting, just one word, Mom. I opened it with a smile, thinking it was a sweet update about her big day. I had already given Emily $30,000 to help book the venue, the photographer, the florist she had adored since college. I was excited, proud even. I thought it was just another wedding detail, but as my eyes scanned the screen, my smile vanished. Emily wrote that she and her fiancé Andrew had finalized the guest list. His parents wanted the ceremony in Napa Valley to be intimate, which apparently meant I wasn't invited. Instead, she wrote, "You can watch through the live stream. It'll be just like being there. LOL." LOL, as if being excluded from my own daughter's wedding was a joke. I sat there frozen, coffee growing cold in my hands. My heart didn't break loudly. It cracked quietly, like porcelain under pressure. I replied with just 4 words. "Sure, enjoy your big day. No fight." No begging. Just silence. And I knew that silence would echo louder than any scream. The next morning, I went through the motions of my life, as though nothing had changed. I drove to work at the law firm where I had spent nearly 2 decades, smiling at coworkers, typing contracts, making coffee. But inside, something had shifted. That email had opened my eyes. Every sacrifice I had made, working late nights, skipping vacations, co-signing Luke's mortgage, covering Emily's moves across the country, it had all been invisible. To them, I wasn't a mother. I was a resource, a wallet, a safety net. And now that they didn't need me, I was disposable. Around lunchtime, my phone buzzed. Emily's name lit up the screen. Then again. Texts, voicemails. "Mom, please answer. We need to talk." This isn't funny, but I didn't answer. For once in my life, I let the phone ring. That evening, I made a decision. A quiet one, but one that would change everything. After work, I didn't drive home. I drove to the bank. Mrs. Collins, Carlos, the branch manager, greeted me warmly. He had known me for years, had helped me open college funds for both kids. "What can I do for you today?" I sat down calmly, though my heart was racing. "I need to cancel a wire transfer," I said. "The one to the Napa venue?" He asked, surprised. "Yes, that one." He hesitated. "It's a large amount. $50,000. "May I ask why?" "The circumstances have changed," I said simply. He checked his computer. "You're in luck. It hasn't processed yet." "Just in time." He looked up at me. "Are you sure?" I nodded. "I'm sure." And just like that, I pulled back the $50,000 I had been about to send. Added to the $30,000 I'd already given, that would have been $80,000 for a wedding I wasn't even invited to. As I signed the forms, I felt something inside me harden, not bitterness, but clarity. By the time I got home, there were a dozen missed calls from Emily, a few from Luke. Voicemails that said things like, "Mom, don't do this, please." I turned off my phone. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine, sat on the porch, and let the evening air wash over me. Birds chirped. A dog barked in the distance. The world was calm, and for the first time in decades, I let myself breathe. But the calm didn't last, because soon the doorbell rang. And when I opened it, standing there was Luke, my son, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, panic written all over his face. "Mom," he said, barging in. "Why aren't you answering your phone?" "Emily's freaking out. She says you're not coming to the wedding now." I raised an eyebrow. "Not coming?" "Luke, I wasn't invited." He shifted uncomfortably. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Andrew's parents are footing most of the bill. They want things traditional." "You know how it is," I laughed bitterly. "Traditional?" "Luke, I already paid $30,000. I was about to give 50 more. That's not tradition, that's business." His eyes went wide. "Wait, you were sending another 50? "Was," I said calmly. "Not anymore," Luke paled. Mom, they're counting on that money. The venue, the catering, not my problem anymore. His voice rose. Of course it's your problem. She's your daughter. I looked him straight in the eye. And I'm her mother. A mother who was told to stay home and watch through a screen. The silence that followed was heavier than anything words could hold. And then I said it. The words I had held back my whole life. Get out of my house. After Luke stormed out of my house, the silence felt almost sacred. For years I had lived in fear of disappointing my children. But that night, standing in the wreckage of their entitlement, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Power. The next morning, my phone buzzed before sunrise. Dozens of missed calls. Emily, Andrew, even Andrew's mother. Texts filled with panic. Mom, why are you doing this? This is childish. The venue just called. The payment didn't go through. We're going to lose everything if it's not paid today. Andrew's parents are furious. They said this proves you can't be reasoned with. And then, at 3:24 a.m., a message from Emily that nearly made me laugh. I don't understand why you're doing this to me. To her. Not once in that message did she acknowledge what she had done to me. Her mother. The woman who raised her alone, who gave her everything. No apology. No reflection. Just blame. I sipped my coffee slowly, letting the bitterness settle on my tongue. For years I had swallowed my pain, my exhaustion, my sacrifices. Not anymore. Later that day, as I sat at my desk reviewing contracts, another email popped up. The subject line read, "Please don't ruin my wedding." I clicked it open. Mom, I know you're upset about the live stream thing, but this is extreme. We've already lost the deposit, and if we don't pay the balance by today, the caterer will cancel too. Andrew's parents are beyond upset. They said this proves you don't care about me. Please don't do this. We can talk about you attending the ceremony, but we need the funds first. There it was. Not love. Not remorse. Not even understanding. Just a transaction. My presence at my own daughter's wedding was suddenly negotiable, bartered in exchange for a wire transfer. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then, slowly, I closed the email. For the first time, I didn't respond. Around noon, Robert, my boss, stopped by my desk. A kind man with a warm smile, he held out a hand. Lunch? That new Italian place just opened. My treat, normally I would have declined. I had spent years living small, never wanting to inconvenience anyone. But something inside me shifted that day. Yes, I said. I'd like that. Over plates of pasta and glasses of sparkling water, Robert talked about his grandkids, the chaos and the beauty of raising them. Then he looked at me carefully. Forgive me, Margaret, he said softly, but you seem lighter today. Different. I surprised myself. I told him everything. The email, the disinvitation, the money, the decision at the bank. When I finished, he didn't judge. He didn't pity me, he simply said, sometimes the hardest part of love is setting boundaries, especially with the people we've given the most to. His words landed like truth I had been waiting my whole life to hear. For the first time, I believed I had done the right thing. That evening, as I pulled into my driveway, the porch light flicked on automatically. But there was someone sitting on my front steps, a young woman, familiar. As I got closer, I recognized her. Sophia, Emily's best friend since childhood. She had spent countless weekends at our house, baking cookies, whispering secrets with Emily, falling asleep in sleeping bags on my living room floor. Mrs. Collins, she said softly. Standing as I approached, I unlocked the door and gestured inside. Would you like some tea? She nodded. We sat in the kitchen, steam rising from our mugs. Finally, I asked the question. Emily sent you? Sophia hesitated, then nodded. She's a mess, she said. The venue is gone. The florist backed out. Andrew's parents are threatening to cancel everything. She doesn't know what to do. I stayed silent, listening. She knows she messed up, Sophia continued. She just doesn't know how to fix it. So she asked me to come, to see if there's anything she can say or do to change your mind. I looked at her. Sweet, hopeful Sophia, still so young. No, I said quietly. There isn't, Sophia's shoulders sagged. Not even if she apologizes? I handed her the mug of tea. Words are easy, Sophia, especially when people are desperate. Real love doesn't wait until you cut someone off to notice you. It sees you all along." Tears filled her eyes and she nodded slowly. "I get it," she whispered, even if she doesn't. We sat in silence for a moment, two women from different generations bound by a hard truth. Sometimes love has limits. Sometimes the only way to be seen is to walk away. The days that followed were chaos, not for me. My world had never felt quieter, calmer. But for Emily? For Andrew's family? It was falling apart. Word spread quickly. The Napa venue was officially gone. Without my payment, the balance couldn't be cleared. The florist withdrew. The caterer threatened to cancel unless the bill was settled immediately. Andrew's parents were livid. They had promised their friends a perfect, intimate celebration at one of the most exclusive wineries in California. And now, with the clock ticking, everything was crumbling. Luke called me late one night, his voice frantic. "Mom, please. Emily's losing it. Andrew's parents are saying she ruined everything. They're even threatening to pull the whole thing. If you just..." I cut him off. "No, Luke. Don't finish that sentence." "But Mom, no. I won't buy my way into a wedding I was uninvited from. Not with $50,000. Not with a single dime." And for the first time, he didn't argue. He just breathed heavily into the phone and hung up. A week later, it arrived. The longest email Emily had ever written me. The subject line read, "Please, Mom." Her words spilled across the screen, messy and emotional. "Mom, I know you're angry. I know the livestream thing was wrong. I just wanted to keep the peace with Andrew's parents. I thought you'd understand. I didn't mean to hurt you. But without your help, it's all ruined. Please don't do this to me. Please don't make me the girl who lost her wedding. We can talk about you being there. Just, please help us first." I read it once, twice, a third time. Each time, the same truth screamed louder. There was no real apology. No ownership of the pain she caused. Only fear of losing the wedding. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was asking for funding, and I refused to be bought, so I archived the email. And I never replied. In the end, the Grand Napa Valley wedding never happened. According to Luke, Andrew's parents were too proud to admit defeat, but too stingy to cover the losses themselves. So, weeks later, Emily and Andrew settled for a small backyard ceremony. Just a few relatives, a handful of Andrew's family. I wasn't invited, and for the first time, I didn't ache for the invitation. I didn't feel left out. I didn't feel rejected. I felt free. A few weeks later, Emily sent one final email. It was long. Pages of half apology, half accusation. She wrote about how stressed she had been, how Andrew's mother had pressured her, how she didn't mean to make me feel excluded. But buried in the paragraphs was the same undertone, that somehow this was still my fault. That if I had just understood, everything would have been fine. I read it once. Then I hit archive. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. There's a strange peace that comes with letting go. Not in rage, not in bitterness, but in clarity. For the first time in decades, I woke up without wondering who needed something from me. Without bracing for guilt disguised as love. In the quiet that followed, I made myself a promise. If my presence is negotiable, then so is my effort. I go to work. I read novels. I joined a pottery class. I have dinner with friends who see me, not for what I can give them, not for what I can fund, but for who I am. I learned something I wish I had known sooner. You don't have to burn yourself to keep others warm. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that email. The one that started it all. The one that reduced me to a live stream guest at my own daughter's wedding. But now, instead of pain, I feel gratitude. Because that email didn't break me. It freed me. Life after the wedding was strangely peaceful. For years, my days had been filled with noise. Not literal noise, but emotional noise. The constant buzz of guilt, obligation, sacrifice. Always thinking about Emily's next crisis, Luke's next need, the never-ending list of responsibilities I had convinced myself were love. But after that email, after I chose myself for the first time in nearly 60 years, the noise stopped. I woke up and the air felt lighter. I sat with my morning coffee and it didn't taste bitter. It tasted alive. No wedding drama. No frantic phone calls. Just quiet. And in that quiet, I found myself again. Part 14. Redefining Family. When people hear my story, they often ask, "But Margaret, don't you miss your family?" The truth? I don't, because I realized something most of us are too afraid to say out loud. Blood doesn't guarantee love. Titles don't guarantee loyalty. Being called mom or daughter doesn't guarantee respect. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up. And in my darkest moment, not one of my children showed up. Not for me, only for what I could give them. But friends did. Robert did. Even Sophia, sweet Sophia, who came not to negotiate, but to understand. That's family. Part 15. The mirror one evening. I sat in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at the woman I had almost forgotten. The lines on my face, the silver streaks in my hair, the tired eyes that had seen too much pain but still refused to close. And I whispered something I had never said to myself before. You did enough. Because I had. I had worked myself to the bone. I had carried 2 children into adulthood. I had held together a household when my husband died. I had paid, sacrificed, fought, and loved with everything in me. If my children couldn't see that wasn't my failure. It was theirs. Part 16. The pottery class on Thursdays. I go to pottery class. My hands, once used to scrub floors and fold laundry, now shape clay into bowls, cups, vases. Imperfect, uneven, but mine. Sometimes I sit with the clay spinning between my fingers, and I think about the life I almost lived. A life where I gave until there was nothing left. A life where I died still waiting for a thank you that would never come. But then I look at the bowl forming under my touch and I realize I'm shaping something new. Not for Emily, not for Luke, not for anyone else, for me. Here's the hardest truth I've learned. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's servitude, and the people we give the most to are often the ones who take us most for granted. Because they believe we'll never leave. They believe we'll always answer. They believe we'll always pay, until one day we don't, and that's when the story changes. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine Emily sitting with Andrew, explaining why the wedding was smaller than planned. I imagine Andrew's mother whispering that she should have managed things better, and maybe Emily still blames me. Maybe she always will, but I don't blame myself anymore, because I know the truth. I wasn't excluded from her wedding because there wasn't space. I wasn't excluded because of tradition. I was excluded because she didn't value me. And when someone shows you your worth in their eyes, believe them. That email was my wake-up call. And my silence, my refusal, my no, was my answer. So now, when I think back on those words, Mom, you can watch through livestream. LOL. I don't feel pain anymore. I feel power. Because I chose to stop being background noise in a story I helped write. I chose to step off their stage and live in my own light. And for the first time in decades, I am not just a mother. I am not just a widow. I am a woman. Whole. Enough. Free.